Hello again. Okay, so I did a little bit more to this and finished it up. I'm not going to. I don't even need the actual photo now because I'm just going to ad-lib this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn what was a statue into something a little more flesh and blood. I'm going to add local color to it. Now this is a little heavy-handed. You know, I got kind of carried away because I was trying to kind of, you know, I began viewing it as a monochrome, and working on faces in monochrome is wonderful, you know, and you know you tend to push it a little further. If I should have probably been a little higher key and a little lighter, but we'll see how this turns out. If it doesn't turn out, I'll redo the whole video again. So I've got a bit of flesh tone mixed here. Now I have got to preserve lights, and you know my years of looking at figures, faces and stuff. You know the nose is usually quite oily, so there's often little highlights there. And anywhere where I want a bit of a highlight, you know, I need to preserve it. And I'm going to do that on the nose. I'm going to do it a little bit down there. So I'm just floating this. I'm going to do it on the bridge there. And I'm just going to basically float the flesh tone over I'll add a little bit of in here as well as a highlight. So a few little it's creating a few little sparkly bits, and you can see how, much like with the fruit, I'm going to put that flesh tone right in here as well. You can see how now the flesh tone I just mixed it with. I got a little bit of a shell pink here from Holbein, but I'm mainly mixing yellow ochre and a little bit of alizarin crimson to get that flesh tone. You can see how it is all merging to, I'm going to take it off the lid, to look fairly fleshy. Now what color hair? I think we'll make the hair black, but you know, there's classical statue of sorts, so probably black hair on a person like this. I'll leave a little bit of a highlight there. So we'll leave it at that. So one thing I notice is that the local color of a face fluctuates. Oh, I know where I have to go there. The local color of a face fluctuates. If you look at people's eyes, obviously the nose is often quite red. So I'm coming in with a slightly redder color, especially if you drink a lot. I'm adding a little bit of red in here to get a sense of the redness of the nose. Obviously the cheeks might be a little bit red. Put a little bit of blood in the cheeks. Often the rim, you know, the eyes are quite red. So if I put a little bit of that red in, see, it just gives it a kind of a humanizing look. And obviously the lips are a little red. So see how that just kind of, you know, pumps things up a bit. Often you'll get a little bit of red around the outline of the face a little bit. So see how, and I'm going to put a little bit of red in there. See how that does look a lot fleshier? Now, I'm going to knock while that dries a little bit here, and I want that to dry a little bit, I'm going to cool the background a bit. I mean, I could leave it this inert color, but I can't leave good enough alone. And I'm going to run a kind of a fairly transparent cerulean blue over the background to knock it back a bit. And I'll actually bring that blue right into the figure a bit. So imagine that, you know, we've got a lit figure. And I'll bring it right into the face a bit here. And I'm going to bring that blue right in down there. I'm going to bring that blue right into the figure a bit. Oh. Somebody else will get that.
Call from Halsey Bay.
Oh, that's my dad.
Call from Halsey Bay.
I'll call back, Shirley. There we go. Where are we? So there, see how that's looking a little bit more fleshy and realistic. Now, if the character, if the person has black hair, I'll mix a black. I won't actually use black. I'll mix the ultramarine blue and the, oops, I went to the wrong one. There's the ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna to get something closer to black. And but the thing is, even if the person has a black face, I don't want to make it fully black and dark. I want it, you know, the hair is a bit greasy usually, so you're going to get little bits of reflection. I don't want to treat it like it's, you know, very often you'll see a drawing or a painting, and the hair will be painted raven black, and maybe the person has a raven black hair, and it becomes a very much a graphic element, and I don't want the face to, the hair to become a graphic element relative to the picture. I want it to have form, you know. I'll bring up a little flesh tone into here. Now, even if I'm calling this flesh tone, it's a Caucasian flesh tone. Even if I were painting somebody with a darker complexion, all these rules apply, you know. It really doesn't matter. It's all the same, and you know, maybe I'll do another one where I paint somebody with a darker complexion. It would, all this light and shade on form would be, you know, very much the same. So what I want to do is even if what I was seeing was, you know, in terms of hair, was very dark and black. Like if I took a photo and the hair was very dark and black, in my painting, I don't want to do that. I want to, you know, much like you would in a photograph. I want to burn certain areas out, you know, to get the sense of the drenching light. And I think that still looks like, you know, dark hair, but it's so I'm also gonna darken the background a bit up here. I'm gonna get back to the face again. So I've just darkened that up a little bit there. Now, I'm going to keep working around the eyes a little bit. I mean, I want to keep the eyes vague. if the person had a dark complexion, all of these colors would be here. You know, it would just be keyed down a little bit, but you know, you would have a lot of, you still have red in the cheeks, you still have red, you know, red in the lips, you still have you know, tons and tons of color in a darker complexion. In lighter complexions, people tend to look, you know, there'll be maybe a little bit more of the kind of greens, blues, maybe not. So now I'm putting in another local color, which is, I'm giving the statue the suggestion of an eyeball, and I'm bringing in some dark here as well to darken up around the eye. And this eye, I am just going to keep it soft, the eye, and I'm going to put a little bit of dark in there as well. So I'm adding local color, but I'm also adjusting the light and shade a bit too. Are there eyebrows, dark eyebrows? Maybe. I have to look at it myself here. Oops, looking like a moustache. Very often in around the eye, I'm coming in with a bit of green. You know, particularly on fair complexioned people. There is a lot of, you know, in winter particularly, people with fair complexions look quite sick and unwell. But you get a lot of that. See, and even here I might introduce a bit of green down here, or blue. We might be running out of time soon, so I'm going to knock that back a bit. And a little bit of dark on the lips here. Now, there might be a sparkle in the eye, so I'm going to use a knife to pick that out, but I'm going to let it dry a little bit. I need a little bit of darker shadow down here. I think. A little bit of dark up here, and I think I'm going to run a bit of dark down the side of the face there to discriminate it from, but then maybe I'll soften it a bit there. I want more red on the nose. So it's almost done. You can see how it's kind of coming together as a kind of a very pale complexioned, fleshy figure, you know. And if the person were to have a darker complexion, you just make the local color slightly darker. Very simple. Or very wet, kind of pouty lips. But it looks kind of looks a bit alive, eh? I'll end that there. I'm going to quickly. Actually, I need a little bit of. Often the chin has quite a bit of warmth in it. Often around here there might be a little bit of warmth in it. I have to stand up to look. Yeah, it's looking kind of realistic. Even though I used a statue as my original reference. I'm going to put a little bit of color down in here as well. So something that you could do, I'll talk about this later, is I'm just going to dry this. Here we go. Now imagine that there's a sparkle in the eye. Maybe not the one, but the other.